State of Fear, where terror is homegrown. Join us as we take a drive down dusty back roads and discover the obscure and dark history of this country, human and otherwise, that lurk in your backyard.
Welcome back to State of Fear Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and with me is my good friend, James.
Hey, man. What's up, everybody?
Hey, man. So today's episode is going to be on the state of Illinois.
Illinois.
Home of the Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox.
And my favorite place.
Your favorite place, which is?
Metropolis.
Wait. Metropolis is in Superman Metropolis?
Well, kind of.
So you're saying Metropolis is based on a city in Illinois, or is there an actual city called Metropolis?
There is an actual town called Metropolis.
Is that right?
They even have a Superman of the Year contest. They have the big giant 15-foot statue in the town square, and they also have several museums dedicated to the Man of Steel.
Really? So
now, unfortunately, I haven't been there yet.
Wait. You're like the biggest Superman fan that I know. How have you not been there?
Well, when I was up there to see my son graduate from the Naval boot camp at Great Lakes, we tried to go there, but the Army Corps of Engineers at the time had to release the levees on the Mississippi, and they flooded several of the lower lying plains, and it blocked the highways. And what really sucked about it is because it was only taking us 1 hour out of the way to go home to go there and see that.
But you're so close.
But I will get there.
When was that?
That was about 8 years ago now. Jeez.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you need to make another trip up to Illinois to see this, huh?
My boy did 6 years in the Navy, and he's out now, but yeah. About 8 years ago.
And so when you say Superman of the Year, what does that mean?
Every year that's like it's a Mr. Superman. They have they have all these guys dress up in Superman outfits.
Oh, okay.
And whoever's the best one acts the best, I guess, nerds it up the best, does whatever.
So it's like a cosplay contest then?
Yeah, something like that.
I wasn't sure if it was that or if it was like where they honor one person who like did the most charity a year or something, but it's an actual cosplay contest.
But I think they do that. They make appearances and do stuff like that.
Cool.
I haven't read too much into that part, but I am very interested in going there one day because they do have one Superman museum that has over 75,000 pieces that you can go see.
So that's kind of like your Graceland.
Yeah.
And
I've been to Graceland.
So, but it's not your actual Graceland. Your Graceland is in Metropolis.
My Graceland, Metropolis, Illinois, and I haven't even been there. Damn it!
Wow, that's awesome.
I'll get there.
Now, when you go, would you like dress up in cosplay?
If I was skinny enough, yes.
Okay, but all right. Let's say you go next year and you're not skinny enough. I know you'd rather go as Superman, but if you couldn't, but you can go as another character from the comic series, who would you go as?
Mr. Incredible.
Mr. Incredible?
Before he comes out of retirement.
What are you talking about? From the Incredibles? That's not DC, though.
I know it isn't.
No, I'm talking about
just kidding.
Superman universe, man.
Well, with my size and my build, Doomsday.
I was just thinking that, actually, yeah.
I just put a Doomsday mask on and walk around. Brrr.
Which makes sense, because if you cannot be Superman, even though you want to, be the one character that actually has killed him.
Killed each other, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Knocked each other into a Kryptonian coma is how I like to put it.
Right.
Yes, when the comic originally was released, yes, it did come out. They were dead, they both died, whatever. I get it, but then all the Superman fans raised all holy hell. They brought him back, and they had to.
I remember that whole storyline. It was ridiculous. It was terrible with the 4 different colors and then different.
God, yeah,
it was terrible. Well, let's get into something actually more along the lines of our topic.
Absolutely.
Okay, so today's episode is going to be a doubleheader.
A twofer.
2 for the price of 1. We are covering the Murphysboro Mud Monster and the Enfield Horror.
Yes, and I am glad we are because, like I said, when I gave you the research for the Mud Monster to look into it and see if you'd like to do it, I know that, it wasn't a whole lot. So I'm really, really glad you dug this one up because I had not heard of the Enfield Horror. And I'm looking forward to learning about it.
And see, I had heard of the Enfield Horror before. I think I'd heard inklings of the Murphysboro Monster. I don't remember him being called the Muddy Monster. But I think when most people think of Enfield, at least those that are into the paranormal and or supernatural, they think of the Enfield Poltergeist, which is a great topic and has been researched multiple times and has a lot of great research out there. But that is a UK story. And we stick to the
Jolly
good old
England.
Yeah, we stick to the good old US of A.
That is correcto.
So we are covering...
Unless, of course, our news stories, of course, carry outside the borders.
Those are worldwide, though.
They know rules there.
No, those can be wherever they can be from Mars. Who knows,
As a matter of fact, today's story is from the UK.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Synchronicity.
Synchronicity.
All right, well, what do you say before we get into the main story? Let's get into the weird news of the day.
Man, I got a weird one today, and I don't even know how I'm going to get through this one, brother.
All right, well, let's see what you got for us, James. Oh, no. Wait a minute. I just saw the title. Oh, Lord. This is awesome.
This is no kidding, folks, and I am sorry. Not really.
No, he's not. You're not sorry.
I'm telling you, this one, I just busted out laughing because, a lot of times on this show, and in the episodes we've done, we've talked about a lot of subjects that are real downers. True crime stories and stuff that we've done, they're interesting, but they're sad. So every once in a while, I like to do something to lift the spirit a little bit.
Okay.
Like we did the goat story on a previous episode. I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was
Loving when animals take over.
Yeah.
This one here takes animals to a whole different level.
Okay. Let's hear it.
This is from The Sun. This article is actually... I don't even know how to go about this.
Don't know how to go start it.
This is going to be funny as hell.
Okay.
It's from a paper called The Sun in the UK. The name of today's article, should I say weird news of the day, and this is extraordinarily weird news.
Yes, it is.
It's called Spank the Monkey. The ghost of a masturbating ape haunts the hallways of a grand country estate in Dorset.
Okay, let's give him the title of weirdest ghost ever. Okay.
This definitely is probably the weirdest news yet,
or ever.
Some of the news we've had before on previous episodes has been pretty darn strange. Some of it not so strange, but this one here, this one's the front runner for quite a while. But anyway, the story goes, the haunted Athelhampton Hall is a popular wedding venue with romantic spook hunters. It's a wedding hall?
Apparently.
Oh, my God. Be a hell of a guest to have at the wedding, wouldn't it, brother? The ghost of a randy monkey haunts the halls of a grand English country estate where romantic spook hunters flock to tie the knot. Titillated tourists can often hear the saucy specter laughing while masturbating in the Athelhampton Hall in Dorset, near Dorchester.
So not only does he masturbate, but he laughs
while
masturbating.
He's a wacky kind of guy there, Chris.
The greatest monkey ever.
The estate is considered one of the most haunted in the UK. Always a good thing.
Always.
And the spooky venue even has soul-searching couples clamoring to have their weddings held there in the hopes of having the pervy primate appear in the background of their pictures.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Wow.
The lovable ape's afterlife antics have helped the hall to be named as one of the most haunted houses in England after being listed on We Buy Any Homes list of the 9 most ghostly properties.
That's a weird number. 9 most? That's why not 10?
9 most.
Just do 10.
The 15th century house was originally built by the Martin family, whose crest featured an excited monkey sitting on a tree stump.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Lord have mercy. The estate's motto was, "He who looks at Martin's ape Martin's ape will look at him.
So weird.
Spank you, Spanky Helperton.
Thank you very much.
That's right. And ever since, the horny ghost of Martin's monkey has haunted the sprawling country pile, making it a go-to destination for curious phantom fanatics. Now, I'm going to interject for 2 seconds here before I continue the story. Who in the hell would want... You know what? I take that back. I think I would even go and get a kick out of this shit.
That last sentence made it sound like a parody of like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Carswell.
Your monkey's masturbating all over the gold.
That's ridiculous. One tourist, dad of 3, John Morrison, 41, from Derby, who took his entire family to the estate, spoke excitedly about the spanking spook.
Spanking spook.
See, they're trying to trip me up here.
That is a great name for a band.
He said, and I quote, "We heard that Martin the monkey who haunts the house loves to scratch his privates while swinging around." Nobody said nothing about scratching.
That's what they call it back then, I guess. Or they call it over there, scratching the privates.
And also quoted, "We didn't see him, which is a shame because it would have been a real sight." Yeah, I bet. Mm-hmm. Apparently, he's not terrifying. Quite friendly is what we've heard. According to the local legend, the unconventional Martin family did have a pet ape which was free to wander the halls. And when one of the Martin's daughters had an unhappy love affair and decided to kill herself, the compassionate monkey began following her around.
Weird.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's weird.
Now, wait a minute.
Uh-huh.
Following her around after she decided to kill herself?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she hadn't done it yet, and the monkey was following her around.
Right. She decided,
trying to talk her out of it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Wait, did you say that he followed her around and tried to talk her out of it? You're saying the monkey was talking to her? Go on. Let's go on.
Let's go on with it. All right. When she climbed a set of hidden stairs to a secret room, the ape trailed behind and watched as she took her own life with the door bolted. Poor monkey. By the time the family's search of the house and grounds eventually located the room, the ape had starved to death next to her body.
Oh, poor baby.
That sucks. Poor ape. But you know what? Loyalty in animals, man, I'm telling you, they're better than humans. But now its ghost haunts the halls, often scratching at the paneling of the secret room and staircase in an eternal frantic attempt to escape. Bless its heart. But the monkey is not alone. The house is reputed to have 6 other ghosts, all human. Now, where did they come from?
Okay, that sounds like a reality show.
It does.
6 ghosts. 6 human ghosts and a monkey ghost.
6 ghosts and a monkey.
We need to make that happen. Sci-fi, make it happen.
That's right. We want credit, we want the rights, and we want to do the narration.
And I want to be the monkey. Go on.
Athelhampton has long been known as a haunted spot and featured on TV's Most Haunted in 2002. Is there anybody here?
Oh, Lord. Oh, my God.
I know you remember that one.
I do.
Derek, always choking to death. God bless him.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Derek.
I didn't know he died.
Yeah, he passed away here a little while back.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. There has been a structure on site since Saxon times. Andrea Cook, who has lived in the house with her family for more than 20 years, said she had witnessed, quote, all sorts of odd and inexplicable things. But while many have a rational explanation, she said, quote, there are always some which do not. The most recent was a dark hooded figure which rushed past one of our cleaners. On first sighting, she assumed she had imagined it, but 10 minutes later it came towards her again, up the old servant's staircase, and hurried past her into the bathroom.
Maybe it
guess
was
he had to go.
You gotta go, you gotta go.
I guess so. She was terribly excited about it, having never witnessed such a thing. What this was makes no sense at all. It is a figure our youngest son has seen on a couple of occasions, but the cleaner was unaware of this at the time.
Creepy.
Despite all this, it was an amazing place to live. It's a beautiful home. We are all happy here, and generally it has a lovely atmosphere in spite of the stories. But on the odd occasion when something does occur, and I must stress, it is only occasionally, it reminds you that there are some things which are beyond our understanding. Yes, like a masturbating monkey.
That's beyond my understanding for sure.
That's crazy. A spokesperson from We Buy Any Homes said, I would love to see this. We Buy Any Homes. Okay, you said it yourself, right? Now, were there any problems with the home? Yes.
I love to see the look on the realtor's face when he gets that call and the person on the line tells him, yeah, we also have the ghost of a masturbating monkey. Just the look on the person's face like, okay, we'll buy it. That's fine. We'll buy it. Yes.
So, whether you believe in ghosts or not, it's undeniable that in some places, for whatever reason, just gives us the creeps. Whether it is the old-fashioned decor, the eerie silence that hangs over the property, or the footsteps on the landing in the dead of night, some properties give the feeling that they may be occupied by something or someone else. Like a monkey.
Like a monkey.
Andrea said that when her sons were younger, their friends refused to sleep over and all because of doors being agitated. Figures at the end of the bed. Figures stood in doorways. The sound of rapid footsteps.
Something else rapid going on there, too.
Backwards and forwards in your bedroom. All I'm thinking is this.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
Like, Sonny, those aren't footsteps that are being done rapidly.
All right, brother. Now that is the end of the story. Now I know during the editing process and all this, the many times I busted up trying to do this.
Oh my gosh, that was the greatest story you ever have brought or ever will bring, because nothing will top the Spank the Monkey, the masturbating monkey.
Spank the Monkey, I love it.
And the fact that he's a ghost. It'd be funny enough if he was just a masturbating monkey in a castle, but then the fact that he's a masturbating ghost monkey.
That's just something I've never. We've been doing paranormal for how long?
Years. Like a decade.
At least.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
And I know you studied it even longer than that.
I mean, I've studied about it all my life, and I didn't really get serious until like 2000.
But I've never heard of this.
Ever heard of a masturbating ghost monkey?
It's fantastic. I love this. This is hilarious. I'm going to this damn house if I ever get over there.
If any of our listeners wants to draw some art of the masturbating monkey, please email it to us. stateofearpodcast@gmail.com. I want to see your interpretations of Martin the masturbating monkey.
What are you talking about? This is a serious show, sir.
This is a serious show, but this serious show is got a masturbating monkey, and that's hilarious. I love it. I love it.
Well, if I can get a spectral image of him, I might put it in the feed.
That works for me. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now we move on from masturbating monkeys to a whole different type of horror.
Now, if you're going to keep saying that, I'm going to keep thinking about it.
I can't help it. That story was... You get the Gold Star Award for the best story ever, James.
But it was
it was great. I love it. I loved it. Okay,
geez.
Now, the information for tonight's episode came from a large variety of sources. I'm not going to name them here, but I will put them in the show notes, so you'll find them there. So the two creatures we're covering tonight are, like I said, are the Murphysboro Mud Monster and the Enfield Horror. Both took place in 1973 within a time frame of about 4 months and were about 70 miles from each other. And the odd thing is that the description of both are completely different.
Yeah, I did notice that.
But it's very interesting that they both happen so close to each other within the same time frame. And normally you would expect the descriptions to match if it was the same creature. But apparently Illinois had two completely different creatures running around their backwoods in 1973.
At the same time. That's right.
So, on the evening of April 25th, 1973, a young boy named Greg Garrett was playing in his backyard. His evening playtime, however, would soon be interrupted by a monstrosity called the Enfield Horror. His parents were inside watching TV and enjoying the spring night when suddenly Greg burst in through the door to tell them an incredible story. Crying and hysterical, Greg told his parents that a monster, about 4 or 5 feet tall, not as tall as a Bigfoot, so not a Bigfoot creature, ran past him while he was playing in the backyard. He said it was gray with slimy skin, had big red eyes, short little arms with claws, and 3 legs. Now, that is a weird description because 3 legs.
Now, I have seen some of the photos that we during the research.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the photos, and it looks like that 2-legged, it almost looks like the 2-legged pig lizard from Galaxy Quest.
Yeah,
if I'm trying to pick something,
the artist rendition looks like that for sure. Yeah.
It's very strange looking.
When the monster ran past him, it stepped on his feet and tore through his shoes with its claws.
Ouch.
Yeah. Thankfully, it didn't hurt the boy, though.
Good.
While Greg's parents were deciding whether or not he was telling the truth, Garrett's neighbor would have their own encounter with the horror. Henry McDaniel and his wife came home about 9:30 p.m. to find their 2 children, Henry Jr. and Little, freaking out. They told them that something was scraping on the outside of the house trying to get in. Henry Sr. had no time to dismiss their tale, for he suddenly heard a scratching sound coming from the outside. He grabbed his pistol and ran outside and came face to face with the horror.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun,
I had
dun.
to throw that one in, sorry.
So, Senior McDaniel's description to the police of the monster matched that of Greg Garrett's. Quote, "It had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms coming out of its breast area, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood 4.5 feet tall and was grayish color. It was trying to get into the house." After the initial shock wore off, Senior opened fire at the creature, and he was sure that he hit it. However, it seemed that the shot had no effect on the monster, as the monster hissed like a wildcat and jumped away, covering a distance of 75 feet in 3 hops, and disappeared by nearby railroad tracks.
Possible alien creature?
Possible alien creature. Since the hopping also reminds me of Spring Hill Jack, another UK creature. Yeah.
Wow.
Senior McDaniel called the police department, but Illinois state troopers came out to investigate instead. Their investigation found scratch marks on the outside of McDaniel's home, which appeared fresh, as well as a set of 3 footprints with prominent claw marks but little else.
Okay, now, pardon my interjection here,
Go ahead.
but if you call the local police and the state troopers come in, that tells me they've automatically escalated it to a higher authority, which means they probably were already chasing this thing or knew of its existence.
Or they had already had a few calls prior to McDaniel's, and at that point, since they had a certain number of calls, they went ahead and escalated.
Since it's a state police's jurisdiction, I guess maybe if they were on the case, that's why they showed up instead.
But you're right. If you get the state troopers out instead,
I just find that weird that you call the local police, but the state troopers came instead, but with no other explanation. So I'm just wondering, like I said, if they already knew it was, and they're like, "Oh hell, here we go again."
And I think it's awesome that they actually found some evidence. They found footprints and claw marks. I mean that's great.
That is very cool.
The footprints were about 4 inches wide, with the third print slightly smaller than the other 2. In the following days, McDaniel would tell his story to anyone that would listen, and soon, self-appointed monster hunters began to swarm Enfield. The sudden influx of these hunters, quote-unquote, caused White County Sheriff Roy Posher Jr. to threaten McDaniel with jail time if he continued to tell his story.
Okay, now why would
he do that?
Threaten, yeah.
I'm going to get to that. Some of these monster hunters further fueled the frenzy of monster rumors with bizarre sightings of their own. 2 hunters from Indiana by the names of Mike Mogul and Roger Tappy claimed to have seen what they described as a large, quote, gray monkey dashing through the underbrush, which had moved too quickly for them to get a good shot out. But no, it's not the masturbating monkey. It's a whole different thing. In another incident, 5 hunters were arrested for hunting violations and as a threat to public safety after they opened fire in unison on what they would later claim had been a gray, hairy creature they had spotted in the woods. That's why he threatened McDaniel to stop, because these crazy people with guns were coming through this small town and just firing at anything.
That's true. Kind of like the Stephen King Silver Bullet mob.
Yes, exactly.
Where every redneck in the town that had a shotgun was out there in the forest in the mob.
Exactly, that's exactly right. And that was a threat to public safety.
Now tell me something else here. All of a sudden, the creature's appearance has changed, because when the boys saw it, it was a slick.
Right.
Now it's hairy.
But both of these sightings by the hunters both indicated that it was too fast for them to get a good look at. So, if they were looking at it and it's very fast, they probably just assumed that it was hairy.
Hairy, or perhaps another one of the same kind of creature.
Perhaps the shiny sheen that Garrett had seen in the moonlight, in a very fast motion, could look like hair.
I guess so. Yeah.
The hunters even claimed to have hit it, but that their bullets had no effect whatsoever, much like McDaniel.
The hiss.
Yeah.
I thought I'd do the hiss for you.
That's perfect. I love it. The sheriff didn't believe a word of it and considered them to be just a posse of gun-toting thrill seekers, which they were, quote, out drinking and raising hell.
Something tells me the sheriff has encountered this creature. It scared the crap out of him, so he's just playing the denial card, I guess.
To play your conspiracy card, what if he was told by the state troopers not to let anybody catch this thing?
Possibly, or even state troopers. They could even be higher.
Or
they could be feds. They could be feds in Illinois. You never know.
The Illinois Bureau of Investigation. Yeah.
Here we go, man.
On Sunday, May 6th, Rick Rainbow, great name, the then director of radio station WWKI in Kokomo, Indiana, was in town to search for the monster with some friends and claimed to have seen a 5.5-foot gray stooped-over creature.
Okay, the creature's getting bigger now.
It's getting bigger. Now, again, Garrett, even though he's a child,
I guess he did say 4
he said 4 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And McDaniel Sr. said it was about 4.5. So it's within the range. Yeah.
Okay.
Running through the woods by the McDaniels' home. The creature moved at an unnatural speed, but Rainbow has claimed to have captured the creature's eerie shriek on tape, but later lost the tape.
Fabulous.
I know, great. Senior McDaniel would see the monster one last time that same day, May 6th. Senior McDaniel woke up late in the night to the neighbor's dogs barking and went to investigate. When he went outside, there was the creature, walking down the nearby Enfield Railroad tracks. Senior McDaniel watched silently as the creature walked out of sight, and that was the last time the Enfield Horror was seen. Over a month later, and 70 miles to the southwest in the town of Murphysboro, a strange monster called the Mud Monster would follow the example set by the Enfield Horror. Its appearance would be brief but unforgettable for its residents. The first encounter with the Murphysboro Mud Monster occurred on June 25, 1973 by Randy Needham and Judy Johnson. That night, they were parked near a boat ramp on the Big Muddy River at about midnight when suddenly an incredibly loud scream rang out.
Was it a monkey?
I think it was a monkey.
Oh, boy.
Coming from the nearby woods, shattering the stillness of the night. As Needham and Johnson looked in the direction of the scream, they saw it. The creature made itself known. They described it as an estimated 7 feet tall and 350 pounds. A terrifying sight, covered with light-colored fur, which was matted with mud, and had glowing pink eyes, and it was coming straight at them. The couple quickly started the car and left the area.
Now, I will interject at this point.
Okay.
In most horror movies, the car never starts.
Yeah, thankfully it's real life. In real
Thankfully
life,
it's real life, the car actually starts, and they got the hell out.
unless the car is a junker, it starts usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let's also make note of the fact that this thing was at least 2 feet taller than the Enfield Horror.
And lighter in color and furry.
And weighed a whole lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, there was never any weight associated with the Enfield, but from the size, it didn't seem like it was 350 pounds.
No telling.
They immediately drove to the police department to report what they had seen. Naturally, the police were skeptical, but in the end, they sent 2 officers, Merrill Lindsay and Jimmy Nash, to the scene to look for any evidence. They found footprints, big footprints, some 12 inches long.
Now, wait a minute. I've got bigger feet than that.
You have bigger than
12?
12?
I have a size 13 foot. That's basically 13. So, yeah, 12 inches.
Well, I think the average foot's like a 9, so 12 is still kind of big.
I guess.
While inspecting the footprints found, James Nash reportedly heard, quote, the most incredible shriek that was no bobcat or screech owl. The same shrieking that Needham and Johnson reported, and heard what sounded like a large creature splashing through the water, but were not able themselves to glimpse it. No other sightings would be reported that night. Christian Barrow was playing in his backyard the very next night, June 26. The 4-year-old boy came bolting into the house, telling his parents that he had seen a big white ghost. Once again, while his parents contemplated whether they should believe the boy, their neighbors would be paid a visit by the creature. You seen the synchronicity going on here, the similarities between the 2 different stories?
I am indeed.
10 minutes after Christian's sighting, neighbors Randy Creeth and Cheryl Ray were on their back porch enjoying the night air when they saw the monster for themselves. Randy and Cheryl would describe the monster the exact same way Christian did to his parents. Randy, 17, was the son of a state trooper and even sketched the creature for the officers. According to Randy, he was as tall as that tree. It took me 15 minutes to get scared, but then it really hit me. The thing I remembered was the bulk of it, the shape, the human form, and the stench of the river slime it apparently had on it. It was about 8 feet tall and at least as stocky as a New York football player.
All the New York football players come from Texas.
That's right. Texas, boy. We were within 15 feet of it, close enough to see the body, the texture of the fur, long and hairy, like an English sheepdog. It was at that point that Police Chief Toby Berger ordered his entire 14-man force out for a night-long search. Dog trainer Jerry Nellis brought his 80-pound German Shepherd Reb out to aid the search. Reb would find gobs of black slime, like sewage sludge, on a direct line between the river and the Ray house. Reb would lead officers to an abandoned barn, but upon entering they found nothing, and that would be the last sighting of 1973. 2 years later, 1975,
it returns.
The creature would be seen in the Harrison area north of Murphysboro.
So he's territorial, at least.
He's definitely has some sort of migrating.
But a two-year gap, huh?
Yeah. Later that year, 2 truckers claimed to have seen it west of Murphysboro at the junction of highways 149 and 3. Also that same year, Tom Hale, Grand Tower restaurant owner, displayed the plaster cast of an extraordinarily large, peculiarly shaped footprint in his restaurant. He told inquiring visitors that the cast had been brought in by a Boy Scout group and had been made from tracks in the Oakwood Bottoms, a swampy, spooky area along Highway 3 near Grand Tower and not too far from the above-mentioned junction of Highway 3 and 149. As Hale was known as a practical joker, some of the viewers scoffed and called it a fake.
Of course they do.
He's a practical joker, so sometimes you can't believe him.
Yeah, man, you're full of crap.
Also, in 1975, the Miller Carnival was set up in Riverside Park, not too far from the previous sighting of the monster.
This sounds like a good setup for a horror movie.
It really does. It really does, yeah. The ponies used for riding by the youngsters who came to the park were tethered to bushes on the riverbank. Suddenly, the ponies shied, rolled their eyes, and raised their heads in an effort to pull free of their ropes. 3 carnival workers, Otis Norris, Ray Atkerson, and Wesley Lavender, walked around the truck, and right there, standing upright in the darkness, was what they described as a 300 to 400 pound creature, growling fearsomely.
Sounds like me when I'm hungry.
Or at 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I'm between 300 and 400 pounds, and I have a size 13 foot.
You are the Muddy Monster, my friend. And with your beard growing, you can just,
just let it keep going. Yeah,
that's right. The workers retreated and sounded the alarm. Townspeople and outsiders stalked the area with loaded guns, forcing the authorities to close the park.
The carnival had an alarm?
Probably, yeah. Maybe like a fire alarm, maybe,
Who knows?
Maybe somebody just one of those hand crank alarms, A newspaper reporter commented that as Southern Illinois is a hunting country and hunters own guns, if the creature was human, it or he was likely to come to harm if the whole affair was a hoax. About the same time, 2 youths near the McIlvaine School on the outskirts of North Murphysboro reported seeing it while gigging frogs along the Big Muddy River. And a logger near Cairo, at the extreme southern tip of the state where the Ohio and Mississippi rivers converge, reported seeing a monster along the Ohio River levee. The monster made another appearance in 1988 in a salvage area in Ava to a couple of men, then was seen by several members of their families. It also appeared to a couple of men gigging frogs in 1988. Seems to be quite a common pastime.
Gigging frogs while driving their Chevys to the levee.
Nice.
Something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
And steadily tapered off from that point until no sighting past 1988 had been reported.
Probably died.
Probably, yeah. And that is the end of the Murphysboro and Enfield Horror monster stories.
Those are very brief histories. 2 very interesting creatures indeed, but very brief histories.
And such different contrasting descriptions. One is short, with 3 legs.
Yep.
And is slimy. The other one is tall, muddy, but like 350 pounds.
Yeah, I'm no 7 feet though, but yeah.
But I mean, it's so interesting that both of these things happened within close proximity to each other.
Yeah.
And in the same time period, but were so different that they left a lasting impression upon all those few people that saw it.
They certainly did, and that lasted for decades because these were the 70s.
70s, yeah, 73. Yeah.
So it's an enduring story.
Yeah, and a lot of these stories a lot of the articles that I pulled for research were articles that were done in the last 10, 15 years. So this thing is still being talked about to this day. Yeah.
Well, each state likes to keep their legends alive, I believe.
That's a good point.
Good for tourism and stuff like that. Although people aren't, there's a lot of people out there these days are not looking to run into a 7-foot tall, hairy Bigfoot in a swamp.
I'd rather run into a 4-foot 3-legged goblin.
Or whatever it was.
Speaking of goblins, that the story of the Enfield Horror had a very similar, or at least one point that was similar to the Hopkinsville goblins. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No, I am not.
So the Hopkinsville, Kentucky, we may get into that, but that one's actually been covered quite a bit in the TV series, or not TV series, Amazon series. The Newkirks did it. It's called Hellier.
Okay.
But anyway, the Hopkinsville goblins occurred in Kentucky in, I forget the year, but it was the story of a family in a house who see what looks like a UFO, and all of a sudden they are besieged upon by these 2 or 3 foot goblin looking creatures who surround their house. They fire at them repeatedly, and each time they fire, if it does hit one of the creatures, it bounces them back, and they get up and they run away. It doesn't affect them at all.
Really?
And supposedly the entire raid lasted the entire night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they were firing weapons at these things and not
outside
killing.
of from inside their house and not hitting. And they were hitting some, but when they would hit them, one report is saying that it hit the goblin dead on. The goblin rolled backwards, got up, and floated away.
Huh.
Yeah.
Floated, huh?
Yeah. One report from the night stated that as I forget which family member it was, as he walked outside the front porch, there was a goblin on the roof, and the goblin reached down and grabbed his hair.
This is probably why extraterrestrial life doesn't even attempt to contact us, because it seems like every time humans come into contact with something they don't understand, they try to freaking kill it.
We get the guns out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, if something attacked me, then I'd let my 50 caliber burrito loose on it.
And you would be, if it was a goblin or a Enfield Horror, it would do no damage, unfortunately.
Attack!
We'd
see.
Get up and just kind of brush it off. And,
well, they were shooting pea shooters at it. It's a 50 caliber round, so it'll put a hole through an engine block. So
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because there are a lot of stories of people who are out hunting with rifles and shotguns who come across Bigfoot, who fire, hit it dead on, and nothing happens.
Well, first of all, he's got one hell of a thick hide. And again, why do they immediately try to kill?
Because that's human nature, man.
Stupid.
Human nature. All right, James, well, why don't you tell the fine folks at home where they can find us?
I'll be glad to, Mr. Chris. They can find us on the fourthhand.com media network. Please join us there. We have lots of other great shows, plus our sister show, What the Suck.
Yes.
Check them out. Lots of great people. And you can also find us on Facebook, The Big Evil, and on Instagram. And if you'd like to follow me, I still have a little bit of space left on my Facebook.
While you can.
Yeah. I shed about 22 or 23 people a few days ago.
Making room.
Yep, making some room. But I am at James E. Bishop III, and I am also on Instagram at James Bishop III. You can find the podcast, of course, on any platform: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CastBox. Chris has done a YouTube. I always forget to say YouTube.
I always forget it.
Damn
We're
it.
on there.
But we're on there. Chris has done an outstanding job of getting us out there in all these different areas and all these different platforms. So give us a check, check us out.
Please do. There's
review, rate, give us some comments.
Let us know what you think.
Review the episode.
If you guys have a personal encounter that you want to share or you want us to play on the podcast, you can email them to us at stateofearpodcast@gmail.com. We prefer that you email them in audio format.
Please.
Preferably WAV or MP3. They can be anywhere from 3 minutes to 5 minutes to 15 minutes. As long as it's short enough that it can be emailed. Now, if your story is longer and it cannot be emailed, just email us and let us know that you have a long story, and I will get back to you, and we will figure out something to get us a story.
And like I said, this is the Illinois episode, so if you've got a personal story from any of the states, because we're going to go through. We're going to go all the way to Wyoming before we start this thing over again. Anyway,
yeah.
So once we hit Wyoming, it'll go all the way around. It does not matter if your state has already been covered.
Yes,
we'll get it on the next.
Go back around to it.
And like I said, it'll take some time, but we still love to have your story. If we haven't done it yet, get them in as soon as you can, and we will get them included in an upcoming episode.
And this is any story, whether you live there or even just visited there and something weird happened, whether it was paranormal, whether you had a run-in with a serial killer or a cannibal or a criminal, or you went there and you had something happen that can be considered a miracle, but it happened in a state. Get us a story. We want to hear it, and our listeners want to hear it too.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Well, this was a lot of fun, and I look forward to our next great state adventure.
Me too, man. This is so much fun.
And we'll see you guys in the next state.
We'll see you down the road, folks.
Oh, and don't forget to stay tuned for the personal encounter stories coming up right now.
Hi, my name is Maria. The following happened to our family around 1995. My daughter had when we lived in Illinois. She was a kindergartner at the time, and her grandmother lived with us. She was very elderly on hospice. Well, one evening I ran my daughter's bath water and walked away, got her clothes and that, and I saw her run into the bathroom. I was a little busy, and I saw her run back out again, and she looked a bit scared. So I scooped her up, walked in there, and the water was scalding, and I asked her, did you try to go into the bathtub? Is that why you got scared? And she goes, no. Let it cool off, gave her bath, went on with our lives. Well, go forward many years. She's a young adult, packing for a move, and she saw a picture, and she grabbed it, and she's like, who's that man? And I looked at the picture and said, well, that's your grandpa. And she looked at him and she goes, that's the man I saw in the bathroom that night when I was little that scared me. And she said she saw him sitting in the living room, and she'd seen him in her grandma's room sitting next to her. And I go, yeah, he loved her a lot, and he was always around. I didn't know that you could see him. I knew he was there. But it goes to show you that children, very young, don't have a clear definition between the two existence of this life and the next. She saw him clear as can be. At first she wasn't scared because she thought it was her daddy, because he looked a lot like her daddy. But then when she said, I stared at him for a little bit and I could see he looked a little different, and that's when I got scared. And I said, well, I wish you had told me. There was nothing to be scared of. But there you go. That's our personal story. Thank you.